It is the greatest rags to riches story the desert has ever told. From a barren island discovered by a single gazelle to one of the richest places on earth, Abu Dhabi has risen from sand to skyscraper in barely a century. Today, its sovereign wealth fund surpass $1.5 trillion with investment interest across the globe, and it all stand a ruling family unlike any other. Their rise to power was soaked in blood, wars, economics ruin, and desurrection. The House of Al Nahyan, Abu Dhabi is not just a city. It's a global hedge fund with a skyline. The UAE has saved up over 1.3 million US dollar per citizen. The country will never become poor. Yes, the country will never become poor. The Arabian desert is one of the harshest places on earth. An endless sea of sand called the empty quarter, where temperatures can kill a man in hours and water is more precious than gold. For a century, a powerful group of nomadic Arabic tribes known as the Bani Yas fought, stopped, and somehow survived by clinging to a hidden green oasis deep in the southern dunes. A crescent of palm groves and sweet wells they called Liva. Then in 1761, a single gazelle led a young sheikh named Dia bin Lassa across shallow coastal waters to a barren island. There, against every law of the desert, they found fresh water. He named the place Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Father of the gazelle, within decades that island became their fortress, and a great mud castle called Qasr al-Hussein become the beating heart of their new coastal stronghold. But the throne itself remained a blade brother killed brother, cousin killed cousin. By the 1850s, the ruling line had fractured once more. Said bin Tanun is the ruler, and he rules with absolute obedience. When a respected tribal elder dares to question him, said, "Other than man, seized and executed on a fabricated charge." At first light, the elders confront Said in the Majlis. He is deposed before the sun clears the horizon. The throne is empty as far as they are concerned. There is but one man that can take the throne. His name, Zayed bin Khalifa. Zayed bin Khalifa was born into that storm. His father, Khalifa bin Sakput, had been murdered at a feast when Zayed was barely 10. The boy grew up in Liva and Burami, learning the desert's law. Read the stars, ride without rest, strike first or die. He became a master falconer, a fair rider, and a mediator who could silence feuding tribes with a single word. By his 20 years, the elder already watched him. In 1855, they chose him. At 20 years old, Zayed bin Khalifa becomes ruler of Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Even as a young man, Zayed carried the weight of destiny, tall, steady-eyed, and spoke little, but active with absolute certainty. He now holds the thrones, but the realm is still fractured. Tribes chief under old ounce. Qatar raids the west. The Pearling Fleet is vulnerable. The British watch every move. Zayed sees it all. He is ambitious. He is ready. The conquests are about to begin. Zayed bin Khalifa now sits on the throne, but the desert still refuses to bow. In his first decade, he moves with ruthless speed. He marries his daughters into every major tribes, turning enemies into blood kin. He reclaims the rebellious Kubesat section in 1879, ending year of defiance without firing a shot. By the late 1870s, Abu Dhabi controls a vast inland empire, stretching from Liva to the east of Oman. But a much bigger empire looms large. The British Empire at this moment is the greatest power on earth. It rules a quarter of the world's land, commands the seas, and protects the route to India like a jealous god. Zayed studies the gunboats in the Gulf and sees the truth. Along his sanctum is spread. Allied with Britain, it becomes untouchable. When London offers the exclusive agreement of 1892, Zayed is the first crucial ruler to shine. In exchange for protection, he gives up the right to deal with any other foreign power. He has traded a little freedom for total security. The desert now has a new guardian. Zayed ruled with the calm of a falconer, who knows exactly when to release the bird. He listened more than he spoke, judged fairly, and bound men to him with marriage and mercy as often as with the swords. Under him, Abu Dhabi expanded faster than any sanctum in living memory. As a result of British protection, Zayed has the stable economy to grow. The Pearling fleet swells to over 400 boats. This is pouring 60,000 pounds a year at the peak. He rebuilt Fala's irrigation system across Al Ain, turning desert into gardens. He erects forts, digs new wells, and make Abu Dhabi the undisputed master of the crucial coast. Population booms, trade routes open, the once scattered Bani Yas become a single wealthy nation. Zayed has taken a collection of tribes and forged them into an empire. It is 1909. Zayed the Greatest is 74 years old, still tall, still sharp-eyed, but the desert has finally caught him. For weeks he lies in the cool shadows of Qasr al-Hussein, surrounded by his son. He knows the end is near. On the night of May 18, he calls them to his bedside one last time, gives each a blessing, then slips away at dawn. The man who forget an empire from sand and blood is dead. Zayed bin Khalifa ruled for 54 years longer than any sheikh before him. He took scattered tribes and made them one nation. No ruler in Arabian history accomplished more with less. He was the architect of modern Abu Dhabi, and now the architect is gone. The throne is empty, and the knives come out. Soon the succession crisis is about to erupt. It is 1909 and the throne stands empty. The eldest son Khalifa bin Zayed is the clear heir. But Khalifa refuses the crown not once, not twice, but 3 times. He has watched too many brothers die by the dagger. He has seen too much blood spilled inside the family fort. The crown falls to the second son, Tanun bin Zayed. Khalil has already twisted his body and left him childless. Tanun is quite cautious and overwhelmed. He takes the throne in 1909 because no one else will. For 3 years, he rules from the shadows of Qasr al-Hussein, trying to hold the tribes together. But his illness grows worse. In 1912, Tanun dies naturally without an heir. The line of succession is broken again. Hanun now passes to the third son, Hamdan bin Zayed. Hamdan is more popular than his brother. He wins support through marriages and favors, But in 1922, the knives come out. His younger brothers Sultan and Sakar strike at night. They storm the fort, murder Hamdan in his sleep, and seize the treasury. They find it almost empty. Sultan claims the throne. The cycle of blood has returned with full force. Power transfer in Abu Dhabi was never peaceful. There was no fixed law of succession. Every son could come the throne. Every mother a faction leader. In a desert where rule made survival, the throne was taken by whoever was fastest with the blade. That was the unforgiving culture of the region. Kill or be killed, Sultan now sits uneasily on the throne as the country is about to be plunged into an economic crisis. For a century, the Gulf has lived and died by pearls. Every summer, hundreds of doves sails out from Abu Dhabi. Thousands of divers plunge 40 feet down, holding their breath for 2 full minutes, fighting sharks, jellyfish, and the bends. They bring up oyster by the sack. The base plug go to Bombay, then Paris and London. Yes, of course, the best pearl. Go to Bombay, then Paris and London. Pearling is not just business, it is life. It feed every tribes, pay every sect, and fund the very fort that Zayed built. By the early 20th century, Abu Dhabi fleet numbers over 400 boats. Pearls are the only real wealth the desert has ever known. Then a Japanese scientist named Kokichi Mikimoto changed everything. In 1893, he begins experiment on Ego Bay. By 1905, he inserted teeny bead and a piece of oyster mental tissue into a living oyster. The oyster coat the bait with nacre. In 1960, Mikimoto harvests the first perfectly round, flawless cultural pearl. He scaled the technique fast. By the 1920s, Japanese pearl flooded the world market, identical to natural ones for cheaper and produced by the millions. The collapse is sudden and total natural pearl prince crash. Total natural pearl prices also crash. The Greatest Depression finished the job. In Abu Dhabi, the doves stop selling. Divers sit idle on the beach. Captains cannot pay their crews. Whole family go hungry. The treasury that once overflowed with 60,000 pounds a year now sits empty. The pearling economy that built the emirate is dying in plain sight. The pearling industry was the entire economy. When it vanished, the sheikhs lost their main source of revenue and their main way to buy tribal loyalty. Suddenly, there was no money to hand out, no subsidy to keep the peace. The golden was over. Means the golden age was over. Sultan now rules a realm that is literally running out of money. The treasury is drained. Tribes grumble for their share. Rival sheikhs smell weakness. The same fort that once rang with the sound of wealth now echoes with hunger and resentment. Something is about to break. Sultan bin Zayed now sits on the throne. He sees in blood. It is 1922. The pearling industry is already dying. Japanese culture pearl have flooded the market. Prices have collapsed. The Great Depression is coming. The treasury that once overflowed is now almost empty. One night in 1926, Sultan invited his half-brother Sakar to dinner inside the fort. The meal is tense. Sakar has been plotting. As the coffee is served, Sakar draws a pistol and fires. Sultan collapses across the table. His young son Khalid is shot in the chest, but call away wounded into the night. Sakar seized the fort and declared himself ruler. The same family that swore oath of loyalty has turned on itself again. That dinner was the moment that Nahyan family descended into open murder of each other once more. It was no longer about tribes or territory. It was brother against brother inside the very fort Jayat has built. Sakar's reign is short and paranoid. He pays tribute to the Wahhabis to buy safety. He alienates the tribes. He suspects everyone. In 1928, Khalifa bin Zayed, the elder brother who had refused the throne, decided enough is enough. He rallies the powerful Menasir tribe, surrounded the fort, drags Sakar out, and execute him in the sand. The cycle of murder seemed unstoppable for decades. The Al-Nahyan had killed each other for power. This cycle of murder seems unstoppable. For decades, the Al-Nahyan had killed each other for powers. Brother murders brother, cousin murders cousin. The desert culture demanded strength. Above all, and strength was measured by the blade. Nothing has to break his cycle, and this cycle, and that something is about to come from the one person no one expected, a woman. Her name is Salama bin Budi al-Qubaisi. She was born into the powerful Qubaisat tribe, the same tribe that won rebel against the Al-Nahyan. As a young woman, she was married to Sultan bin Zayed, one of the Jayas the Great son. She bore him 4 boys. She watches her husband murder at the dinner table in 1926. She watched his killer, Sakar, seize the fort. She watched the family tear itself apart in an endless cycle of revenge. Through every assassination, every cup, every night of fear, Salama remained the quiet center of the storm. Salama was still wrapped in silk. She spoke softly, but when she spoke, the men listened. She had seen too much blood. She had buried too many sons of her generation. She decided that the killing would stop with her own children. It is 1928. The fort is still stained with Sakar's blood. The treasury is empty. The pearling fleets rot on the beach. The family is exhausted, suspicious, and armed. The elder fear another round of murder will finish the dynasty forever. Salama gathers her 4 surviving sons in the cool shadow of the fort. She makes them kneel before her. She places the Quran between them in a voice that carries the weight of every death she has witnessed. She forces them to swear to Allah. No brother will ever again raise his hand against another brother. One by one, they repeat the oath and swear on the holy book. That single moment may have saved the Nahyan dynasty. A mother did what generation of warriors could not. She imposed peace through sheer moral force. For the first time in decades, the family can breathe in peace. Abu Dhabi is exhausted, bankrupt, and shrinking, but the desert still holds on last second. Deep beneath the sand, something ancient is stirring, something that will change everything. The oath has been sworn. The cycle of murder has been broken. Now the family turns to the older surviving son. In 1928, at only 23 years old, Sakbat bin Sultan is placed upon the throne of Abu Dhabi. The elder chose him precisely because he is cautious, disciplined, and still untouched by the recent blood. Sakbat was a man fogged by scarcity, thin, ascetic with piercing eyes. That means nothing. He trusted almost no one. He rules with ruthless caution. He hoards every rupee in iron, chest inside the fort. Abu Dhabi is still desperately poor. Barasti huts, open sewers, family surviving on dates and dried fish. Sakpat believed the desert has taught him one lesson above all. Wealth always vanishes, so he will never spend. But even their ascetic ruler know the world is changing. In 1939, he signed a first oil concession with Petroleum Concession Limited. A small signing fees begin to arrive. The drills go down into the sand. They come up dry again and again. Setback follows setback. The money trickles in, but the black gold remains stubbornly. Yes, stubbornly hidden beneath the domes. He has very little hope that anything will be found, but he has no idea that beneath his feet, the greatest fortune in Arabian history is about to wake up. Sheikh Butt signed the first oil concession in 1939. The British company Petroleum Concession Limited pay him a small signing fees. They drill a Rasidi dry hole. Year after year, the rigs go down and come up empty. Those were heartbreaking years. They drilled 8 dry holes in a row. Every time they thought they were close, the sand swallowed their hopes. The offshore rig at Saif, operated by Abu Dhabi Marine Areas, punches through the seabed. On the morning of October 6, the crew sees it, a thick black column shooting into the sky, the first commercial oil in Abu Dhabi history. The flow is strong. Within months, they confirm reserve large enough to transform the emirate. 4 years later, in 1962, the first very fast tankers leaves Des Island, loaded with Abu Dhabi crude. The desert has finally spoken. That single strike at Saif changed the destiny of the entire nation. It was the moment Abu Dhabi stopped being a poor sheikhdom and started becoming one of the richest places on earth. Oil is finally flowing. By 1962, tankers leave Des Island every week, loaded with Abu Dhabi crude. The desert that once stops its people is suddenly rich beyond imagination. Money arrives faster than anyone can count, but almost none of it leaves the fort. Sheikh Butt bin Sultan watches the black gold flow and decide the illusion of the pearlings grace still hold. Wealth always vanishes. He refused to build roads, schools, hospital, or even a proper power station. He blocks banks, burns municipal records, and demands 20% of every foreign merchant's profits. The money piles up in iron chests, while the people stay poor. Sheikh Butt was scared for life by the collapse of pearling. He had seen riches disappear overnight. He feared that sudden wealth could destroy the simple bidon life he cherished. So he chose poverty for everyone, including himself, as the safest path. In the mid-1960s, his younger brother Jayad realized enough is enough. He has built his own region into a green oasis with schools and hospital, and he wants the same for the entire country. The family watches. Sheikh Butt hoard millions, while the emirate stagnates. Whispers turn to open frustration. The British, who once tolerated Sheikh Butt, now see him as an obstacle. At dawn, D to Chel, Oman, escorts quickly surround Qasr al-Hussein Jayed, sons and loyal cousin, move into position. No shots are fired. A family letter is delivered to Sakbat, abdicate or face removal. After hours of tense negotiation inside the fort, Sheikh But walks out, head high, and board a plan to Bahrain. Then Beirut. The bloodless cup is over in a single morning. Zayed bin Sultan is now ruler of Abu Dhabi. Sheikh Sakbat, ruler of Abu Dhabi, an oil producing state in Persian Gulf, was deposed today by member of his family. The British political residence office here announced he was replaced by his brother Sheikh Zayed. The miser has been removed. The visionary has taken his place, and the desert is about to be transformed forever. Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan was born around 1980 in the Dates group of Liva. He grew up between the oasis and the contested forts of Burami, learning to read the stars and write for days without rest, and speak with quietly authority. As a young man, he was already a master falconer and a daring rider. While his brother Sheikh hoarded every coin, Zayed was appointed Wali of Al-An in 1946. With almost no money, he restored the ancient Falaj irrigation channels, tripled the water flow, opened schools, and built the first modern clinic. The people call him the Green Sheikh. Everyone sighed. This brother was different. Zayed was a calm man. He spoke little, but when he did, men felt the future in his words. As a boy, he once told his cousin, "One day the desert will bloom because we made it bloom." That belief never left him. On August 6, 1966, the moment finally arrives. He orchestrates a bloodless coup and oust his brother. By evening, Zayed bin Sultan becomes ruler of Abu Dhabi. He wasted no time. Within months, he signed contracts worth 70 million to bulldoze the old squalor and build road, hospitals, school, desalination plants, and the first airport. He distributes Sheikh Buts, hoarded million to the peoples. He gives every citizen land, free healthcare, free education. He turns a medieval Sikhdom into a modern state almost overnight. The Sikhdom of Abu Dhabi, smell of money, the new attaché case, the expensive toilet, waters, the imported cigars, the new leather upholstery, and $10,000 car. And it buzzes with men's voice talking of money. By 1968, Abu Dhabi is no longer poor, it is rising. But even as the skyline begins to climb, a shadow falls across the Gulf. A storm is coming for more than a century. Britain has been the unseen master of the Gulf. Since the 1820, General treated British gunboats have patrolled these waters, crushing piracy and imposing peace. British officers trained the crucial Oman Scouts, mediated border disputes, and kept Saudi Arabia and Iran at bay. The relationship has been cooperative but never equal. The Al Nahyan have lived safely under the Pax Britannica. In January 1968, Britain is broke. The pound is devalued. The empire is too expensive. Prime Minister Harold Wilson makes the historical announcement: Britain will withdraw all forces which have switched by the end of 1971. The protector that has stood guard for 150 years is leaving. The British government announced today that it would withdraw entirely from Aden and South Arabia during the second half of this month. Britain's exit created the largest power vacuum in the modern Gulf. The small Sikh were left exposed to Saudi expressionism and Iranian territorial claims. Without Britain umbrella, survive itself was uncertain. Jayad stayed on the ramparts of Qasr al-Hussein and watched the British ship disappear over the horizon. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. He has built an emirate, but now he must build a nation. Before Iran seized the island, before Saudi army move, before the fragile Sikh Thames fall one by one. It is February 1968. The Britain have just announced they are leaving the Gulf forever. Jayad bin Sultan know the clock is ticking. Late one night, he drives Elan to Dubai Sheikh Rashid bin Salid. He drive Elan to Dubai. Sheikh Rashid bin Sayyid Al Maktoum waits for him in a modest majlis overlooking the no ads, no gods. Just two men and the weight of history. Jayad speaks first, telling Sheikh Rashid that if they remain separate, they will be swallowed by Saudi expansion and by Iranian ambition. Rashid listens in silence and agrees. They shake hands over a strong Arabic coffee. The secret meeting between Jayad and Rashid was the true birth of the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Two power rivals choose unity over pride. It was the moment vision defeated century of suspicion. The Dubai Agreement is born. The United Arab Emirates begin. The ruler of 9 Persian Gulf, Sikh Thames, agreed early today on a provisional organization of the Federation they formed last February. Jayad and Rashid travel between Emirates, persuading, promising, compromising. Bahrain and Qatar pull out. On December 2, 1971, 6 rulers gather in Dubai. They sign the provisional constitution. Abu Dhabi became the permanent capital. Jayad bin Sultan Al Nahyan is elected president. Sheikh Rashid became vice president. The United Arab Emirates is born. Jayad became the first president. Rashid the first vice president. Abu Dhabi kept its oil wealth but agreed to fund the federation. The structure was simple yet brilliant. A strong central authority in foreign affairs and defense, but each emirate kept control of its own resources. It was the only way the union could survive. Jayad has united the Sikh Thames, but the British are gone. Iran is angry. Saudi Arabia is watching. The real test of the union is only just beginning. The United Arab Emirates is born on December 2, 1971. 7 proud Sheikdoms have agreed to become one country, but the union is fragile. The northern Emirates are desperately poor. There are no federal army, no central budget, no share institution. Tribes still owe loyalty to their own ruler. Then on the very eve of independence, Iran strikes. November 30, 1971. Iranian troops stormed the island of Abu Dhabi, Abu Musa, Greater Tun and Lesser Tun. The island have been claimed by Sharjah and Ras Al Khaimah for centuries. Iran seized them by force. Sharjah ruler is forced to sign a humiliating agreement on Abu Musa. Ras Al Khaimah loses the tombs entirely. Iranian flags rise over the island. The young UAE wakes up to its first international crisis. Iranian troops landed today on 3 disputed islands, strategically situated in the Persian Gulf. The trucial state of Ras Al Khaimah immediately protested that 2 of the islands, Greater Tunub and Lesser Tunub, had been invaded and occupied. Jayad does not hesitate. He built road He opened Abu Dhabi treasury and begins pouring money into every corner of the federation. He built roads, schools, hospital and power station from Ras Al Khaimah to Fujairah. He pays salary, fund developments, projects, and keep the union alive with oil wealth. Abu Dhabi became the banker of the new nation. The Iranian Caesar was the first real taste of the UAE. It showed the world and the Sheikh themselves that this union could only survive if Abu Dhabi was willing to share its riches. And Zayed understood that immediately. But a new storm is gathering on the horizon between Israel and the Arab world, and the teeny new nation of the UAE is about to step onto the world stage. Egyptian and Syrian tanks storm across the Suez Canal and the Golan Heights. The Om Kippur War has begun. Israel fights for its life. The Arab world rallies. On October 70, OPEC make its moves. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates declare on oil embargo against the United States and any nation supporting Israel. The weapon is simple but devastating oil. They cut production by 5% every month until Israel withdraws. The sixth largest oil producing country on the Persian Gulf announced a 70% price increase for their crude oil early today. Abu Dhabi stands at the very heart of the decision. Zayed bin Sultan fully supports the embargo. He tells his fellow rulers that they cannot stay silent while their Arab brother bleed. Abu Dhabi's oil become a political weapon. Tankers are turned away. Production is slashed. The world factories begin to grind to halt. Oil prices explode from $3 per barrel to $12 in a matter of months. Revenue quadruple overnight. Money flowed into Abu Dhabi faster than anyone can count. With that money, Zayed begins the greatest building spree the Gulf has ever seen. He constructs roads, hospitals, schools, desalination plants, and the first modern airports. He funds housing for every citizen, free healthcare, free education. He pours money into the poor northern Emirates to keep the young federation alive. Abu Dhabi became the banker, builder, and protector of the entire UAE. Zayed understood something profound. All money was not a gift, it was a responsibility. He turned sudden wealth into lasting nation building. That decision defined the UAE we know today. But the mid 1970s, the transformation is staggering. Abu Dhabi population doubles, new cities rise from the sand, GDP grow by over 300% in 5 years. Schools, hospitals, and power stations appear almost overnight. The once poor Sheikh Dome is becoming one of the richest places on earth. By 1974, the young UAE is still fragile. Iran has seized the island. Saudi Arabia quickly claimed large part of Abu Dhabi's southern desert, including the rich Jara oil field. Border tensions are rising. Zayed knows the Union cannot survive another war. He flies to Jeddah to meet King Faisal. The two men sit alone. Zayed offers a painful compromise. Abu Dhabi will get its share of the Jaraz field and part of the border in exchange for Saudi recognition of full UAE sovereignty over Buremi and Al Nahyan. Faisal accepts. The Jeddah Treaty is signed. Jeddah has traded oil for peace and legitimacy. The Jeddah Treaty is signed. Zayed has traded oil for peace and legitimacy. Saudi Arabia drops its territorial claims. The border is finally settled. Zayed has bought the young nation. Breathing rooms, the early 1980s, become Abu Dhabi's golden age. Oil revenue are still high. Zayed pours the money into the federation. Highway links every emirate. New hospitals and universities open. Housing is built for tens of thousands. The ones scattered Such start to feel like one country. Jayad understood that money alone was not enough. He used it to bind seven emirates into a single identity. The Saudi Treaty gave him to stability to do it. In 1976, they quietly created the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, one of the world's very fast sovereign wealth fund. He takes billion in surplus while revenue and begins investing it across global markets. Not for the glory of today, but for the survival of tomorrow. Jayad is planting the seed of a financial empire that will one day be measured in hundreds of billions of dollars. It is a rainy day fund that he hopes he never will have to use. But little does he know that day comes sooner than he think. The 1970s oil booms has made the Gulf rich beyond imagination. Prices hit $40 a barrel after the Iranian Revolution. Prices flood Abu Dhabi, but the booms contain the seed of its own destruction. The perfect storm is forming. A commodity traded in here in New York today said, "Put on your hard hat. The sky is falling." That comment came as oil prices tumbled toward their lowest level since the late 1970s. In 1986, oil plunged below $10 a barrel. The world cheers cheaper gasoline. The Gulf feel the knife. Abu Dhabi revenue collapsed by more than 70% in 3 years. Abu Dhabi revenue collapsed by more than 70% in 3 years. The crash was brutal for Abu Dhabi. Jayed had built entire welfare state on high oil prices. He had to make painful choices. Delay hospitals, cut subsidies, slow the federation growth. It tested leadership like nothing else. The sovereign wealth fund he quietly created in the 1970s act as a cushion. It is about the only thing that prevents the entire UAE from collapsing. But the greatest blow is still to come, and it will be from an unexpected place. In the early 1970s, a brilliant and ambitious Pakistani banker named Aga Hassan Abedi dreams of building the world's first truly global third world bank. He needs massive capital and political protection. He finds both in Abu Dhabi. Jair bin Sultan believes in Abedi's vision and becomes his most powerful backer. In 1972, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International is born. Jayed pours in hundreds of millions. By the 1980, BCCI operates in 73 countries with more than 400 branches. It becomes one of the largest private banks on earth. But behind the glossy facade lies a criminal empire. Money laundering, arms trafficking, drugs money, bribery of officials, and secret control of American banks. Then in July 1991, the House of Cards collapsed. Britain will soon begin liquidating the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, selling assets and settling accounts 6 months after the scandal. Reed Bank was shut down. Its provisional liquidators said today. Regulators in Britain, Luxembourg, and the United States simultaneously raid and shut down BCCI worldwide. The bank is accused of fraud on a scale never seen before. $13 billion in missing money, fake loans, and systematic deception. The impact is catastrophic. Abu Dhabi losses between $9 billion and $10 billion, one of the biggest single losses any government has ever suffered from a private institution. Jayed is personally humiliating. The family name is dragged through global headlines. For the first time, the ruler who turned sand into gold has been outsmarted. BCCI was not just a bank, it was a multinational criminal organization. On Jayed's blind trust in Abedi, cause Abu Dhabi more than any war or oil crash ever did. Jayed faces the disaster head on. He settled with creditor and he ultimately survives it. But he won't. survive what is about to come. Abu Dhabi and Dubai are incredible places to visit. And after 2003, by 2003, Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan has ruled for 38 years. He has turned a medieval Sheikhdom into a modern nation. In his later year, the desert finally claims its prize. His kidney fails. He undergoes two transplants in 2000 and 2003. He grows frail, but his mind remains sharp. He still receives visitors, still gives quiet counsel, still watches over the nation they built. Ramadan has just begun. Jayed slips into a coma in the early hours. The palace is silent. Doctors fight to save it, but the end has come. 8 time is 8 and 25 minutes. 8 o'clock. The announcement is made. Jayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, father of the nation, has passed away at the age of 86. The entire country stopped, flag fly at half mast. Businesses close, mourning lasts 40 days. Jayed was really a great leader of the 20th century. He took one of the poorest place on earth and made it one of the richest, not just in money but in hope. He gives his people dignity, unity and a future. His eldest son, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, is immediately sworn as the ruler of Abu Dhabi and president of the UAE. Zayed is expected to be succeeded by his eldest son, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, as Emirates president. He inherited a prosperous, stable nation and a sacred responsibility to protect Zayed's legacy. In the year that follow, Abu Dhabi continues its astonishing rise. Skyscraper climb higher. Sovereign wealth funds swell past hundreds of billions. It is great now, but the federation is about to be tested again. It is 2008. The global financial system is collapsing. In New York, the subprime mortgage bubble burst. Lehman Brothers files for bankruptcy. Credit freeze overnight, stock market plunges. The worst recession since the Great Depression has begun. Dubai is caught in the perfect storm. The Dubai Financial Market General Index slides 6.1%. Tuesday to a 5-month low as a concern depend about Dubai World's ability to restructure its staggering depth. The index has tumbled 22% since the restructuring was announced November 25. The Emirate had bet its entire future on an endless real estate boom. Burj Dubai, Palm, Jumeirah, the world island. Depth balloon to nearly $80 billion when global liquidity dries up. Dubai World and its flagship company, Nahyan, stand on the brink of default. Construction halt, cranes freeze mid-air, the glittering dream city built on sand faces total collapse. Dubai model was pure leverage. They borrowed massively against future property sales that suddenly evaporated. Abu Dhabi moved swiftly and decisively. In February 2009, Abu Dhabi injected $10 billion through the UAE Central Bank. Sheikh Khalifa and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed personally guarantee the support. In exchange, Abu Dhabi takes strategic stakes in key Dubai asset. The bailout prevent default and protect the reputation of the entire federation. Dubai got a $10 billion lifeline from oil-rich Abu Dhabi to save one of its prize company from imminent default Monday. Calming fears for now about the city its state. Yes, Monday calming fears for now about the city states. Shaky finance. Dubai respond with quiet dignity and one of the most powerful symbolic gestures in the modern Gulf history. The world's tallest skyscraper, originally named Burj Khalifa, is officially renamed Burj Khalifa. Burj Dubai, officially renamed by Burj Khalifa, forever bearing the name of the ruler of Abu Dhabi, who saved the city from collapse. Abu Dhabi emerged from the 2008 crisis stronger than ever. The sovereign wealth fund, Zayed planted in the 1970s, have grown into giant worth over $1 trillion. Diversification accelerate. Renewable energy, aerospace, tourism, finance. Abu Dhabi become a global investor, not just an oil exporter. The desert has learned to survive without relying solely on black gold. But a new threat is rising in the east. Iran nuclear program, its missile, its proxy in Yemen, Syria and Lebanon terrify both Israel and the Gulf state. Quiet intelligence cooperation between Abu Dhabi and Israel has been growing for years. When the Trump administration offered a historic opening, advanced weapons, security guarantee, and economic partnership, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed seized the moment, an historic step for Israel and its relation with its neighbors. Today at the White House, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Foreign Minister of the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain will establish diplomatic relations. Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump are set to hold a meeting at the White House with a four-way meeting with the Emirati and Bahraini foreign minister, set to take place shortly afterwards. Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed signed the Abraham Accords on behalf of the UAE. Bahrain signed alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Donald Trump stand witness. This was not about ideology, it was about survival. Iran is the common enemy. The Abraham Accords mark the beginning of a new order in the Arabian world. The map of the Middle East have been redrawn. Today in 2006, Abu Dhabi stands as one of the wealthiest, most influential places on earth. Its sovereign wealth fund manages well over $1.5 trillion. Per capita income rank among the highest in the world. A skyscraper tower over what was once a fishing village over the first 9 months of 2025. January to September, Abu Dhabi GDP grew by 5% year on year, while the non-oil economy expanded by 6.8% year on year by surprising. At the center of this transformation is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan Sandhurst Train, a former fighter pilot. He has ruled Abu Dhabi since 2022. After his watch, the UAE has built one of the most advanced military in the region. From a gazelle that lead thirsty hunters to water in 1761 to $1 trillion sovereign power in 2025. The Al Nahyan journey is one of the most astonishing stories in modern history. They survived the fratricide, colonial treaties, oil crisis and family betrayal to build something that should not exist. A stable, prosperous, forward-looking Arab nation in one of the world's harshest environment. But the story is far from even. Abu Dhabi remains a small country of fewer than 10 million people in a dangerous neighborhood. Oil, while still vital, will not last forever. Their greatest test may be ahead. If you like my videos, then subscribe me. So I'm from India.